And I just take all, first I take notes from the, look at the Greek text and make sure I'm dealing with the right stuff. And then I just start writing this stuff.
I have a large collection of these notes, by the way. Years ago, I asked John to save that yellow. He was throwing that stuff away.
Yeah, I know.
I said,
I know it's your retirement program, isn't it?
Well, actually, it's more of a plan for my great-grandchildren. I figure they'll be able to sell them on eBay.
Well, yeah. Look, they're still selling Spurgeon's written notes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. But anyways.
I remember my son Mark one day sat down in the bed with me and he said, Dad, he said, I don't understand you. He was a teenager. I said, really, what is it? He said, when you get in the pulpit and preach, you are really something, but the rest of the time, you're not really very special at all. He was absolutely dead serious.
A lot of us have noticed that about you.
Yeah, well,
but you are relentless and you keep showing up to work.
Well, being a greeter at Walmart has very little appeal to me.
I would like everyone to just pause for a moment and picture the scene. A little yellow tag with the blue stripe, just a, hello, my name is John.
Can I give you a cart? I do not want to wake up one Monday morning and discuss whether I'm going to Target or Walmart. Not a chance. And then have that be the question of every day. I'm not going there.
Okay.
So I can't be domesticated. The greatest fear that I have in the pastorate is that some lady in the congregation will paint my portrait and I'll have to hang it in the church. You've received those, haven't you? Yeah.
I want to set up this question for you. I prepare my sermon notes on a computer, and then I actually mark them up with a Flair pen. And all of that's an abomination to you. I heard you recently say that you think that that is not the best way to go. And so I wanted to ask you to give us your thoughts on that, on sermon preparation and your use of pen and ink and all of that.
I really feel that writing with a pen, especially a fountain pen, slows me down because sometimes I have to change the ink, and that slows me down again.
It's almost a sacramental act to change the ink, isn't it?
Let me tell you something. Well, the answer to that is no. But let me answer that question another way. Why are there more people here? Why are these people here? Why are they here? They're here not because...
I don't answer any questions tonight. I determined that really early on.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer it for you.
I remember the first time I ever heard you, and I came kind of reluctantly, but you definitely
No, you
grabbed...
came because Darlene invited you to come and you wanted to date her.
That's right. We don't have to... Yeah. Okay.
The biggest applause we have had in our church, we ask our people not to applaud. But recently I announced that we got a huge applause. I announced we were building a new women's restroom facility.
You couldn't hold it back there.
I mean, it was bordered on paranoia, actually. I think great preachers write their sermons.
That was the...
And I would think that you guys do, just because I know.
Actually, the way you said it last time was you didn't know of a single great preacher who didn't do it that way, which pierced me to the heart, but...
I actually don't know of any preacher who uses a Flair pen.
And when there's a difference in one's eschatology, how can they still maintain a relationship? And my mind went right away to someone that was very dear to you, and maybe you can address that.
Yeah, well, I know now that R.C. Sproul is a premillennial.
All right. Did you all catch that? I think you did.
I mean, and it happened in a split second. There was no debate, there was no argument, there was no giving all kinds of sides, there was no charts, there were no graphs. It was instant, pre-trib, pre-mill, future of Israel, no supersessionism. Yeah, and by the way, no pedo-baptism. Sorry about that.
Most of these questions are directed at John. They want to know how he really feels about Joel Osteen.
He did prevaricate a lot.
You know, I love it when I hear questions that I've never heard before in my whole life, which is, you know, we've been listening to the same questions for 50 years, and, well, at least I have, you haven't. But, and when you get a new one, it's really exciting. So, John, you'll like this, because you have never heard this one before. If Samson was to never touch a dead body, how's come he killed 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey? Bet you never heard that one before.
No, I never heard that one before. I'm not sure I needed to hear it now.
So you're only a
You know what I
hybrid
do with
opinion.
my rough notes? I give them to Phil, who sells them on eBay.
That's right. He used to. I don't sell them on eBay, but it's true. He used to throw them away. And I said, what are you doing? He said, these are notes I'm not going to use anymore. I said, give them to me. So I've got a file cabinet full.
So you haven't started selling them on eBay,
No,
waiting for me to...
My grandchildren will do that. That's his retirement plan.
That's his retirement plan?
That's right.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
when I first moved my office home, you know, it was in a couple of weeks, Patricia came to me and she said, you know, I think you ought to take your office back to the church. I said, why? She'd never received rejection at the level that she'd received it in the weeks that I came home.
I feel your pain. I know it.
Yeah, because it's hard, you know, and she was so excited when I came home. She was going to give me lunch, and pretty soon she was trying to find the flattest pizza in the place so she could slide it under the door. You know?
Yeah, and grandchildren don't make that any easier,
And then they bring the grandkids over.
Yeah.
Then what are you going to do? No, when we had kids, I couldn't have my office at home. Then the kids were gone, and now the grandkids come, and they don't knock. Grandkids don't knock. They just come flying in.
Yeah,
Grandpa.
my granddaughter will sneak up behind me and grab the office chair and turn it around and make me look at her.
And you know, you love every minute. You realize
Oh.
this is damaging to the kingdom, but oh, it's so wonderful.
We can't separate those, but we must distinguish them, or all kinds of mischief takes
fully
place.
God, fully man, with all the reasonableness of man.
Well, I prefer truly God and truly man,
Truly God and truly
because
man.
it can be confused.
One eternity later.
That's why we like to say vera homo, vera deus, truly God, truly man. You're with me
That's
on
what
that.
I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I knew that's what you meant. Why, Johnny Mac, do you always make me have to define what you meant?
Talking about the church today is you have so many people who are evangelical Christians who go to church and are abysmally ignorant of the Bible. They hear these ridiculous kind of messages. I don't even know. You know, I call it little Bo Peep preaching. Little Bo Peep. She was little. She was insignificant. She was nobody. Even her name was insignificant, Bo Peep. And she lost her sheep. Everywhere, people are lost. But they'll come home. Haven't figured out wagging their tails behind them, so.
Another sort of recent controversial issue that you didn't say anything specifically about, but it relates to
You're
an
not
issue.
looking for information on this. You already know the answers.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
You just want
But people want to hear what you say.
I know. You're just putting me on the spot. Okay.
Sometimes I'll, and this is why I put the, pyromaniac stuff in your books. People want to know what you think, and I'll say something, and they go, "Well, does John MacArthur agree with that?"
Really?
I wouldn't put it online if I didn't think you pretty much agreed, but. And if I'm not sure...
That's pretty safe since I don't have a computer.
That's right. And John's handwriting is, and I'm not joking, it's John would confess this, I think, his handwriting is not particularly readable.
You know, that may be bad, but I'll tell you the worst. Steve Lawson's wife writes "calm down" inside his sermon notes.
Is that true? Is that true?
No, but she sits on the front row and gives me what's known as the look, which means settle down.
I mean, there was people that were more excited about our not following the laws of the Medes and the Persians than they were about the worship of Jesus Christ. We had yahoos coming in here, and it was wild times.
We had hawkers selling stuff on the sidewalk like it was a fair.
Yeah, it was. One Sunday I pulled in, and there was two ladies walking across the parking lot in muumuus, and they were moving towards the building, and they yelled at a security guard, "We saw your pastor on Fox News. We love conservative churches." You know, they were just excited to be here. They'd never been here before. We had a lot of that kind of thing, and that was an opportunity for.
What do the muumuus have to do with it? I'm just saying.
I receive it. It's a concrete detail. It's in my mind.
Question was prompted by someone who wanted to know, should I continue to stay in a church that has a woman as a pastor?
Well, that church has no pastor.
Now, not to press, but I have a similar question.
You know, there's water here. I can get rid of you. The Lord brought Patricia into my life for many reasons, but one of them was because she's not impressed with me. She expects me to live everything I preach. The woman is unreasonable. I remember that church very well because they had a Christmas play.
Okay.
And the Christmas play was really a kind of an odd play. The innkeeper had a little boy who grew up to be Barabbas. That was the storyline. And guess who played the little boy? Me.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember it was the only time in my life somebody put makeup on my legs.
Why?
Because I had a short tunic. You know, I mean, it's a stage thing.
Sure.
You understand.
To tan them up? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're Middle Eastern. You're Barabbas.
Yeah, I didn't look like a Middle Eastern Jewish boy.
Sorry.
I look like a pale Scottish boy.
Yeah, got it. If nothing else is accomplished tonight, that just happened.
And you said you rarely spend 5 minutes making an outline.
Yeah.
And can I just say, sometimes it shows. But
you can say that. You
in fact,
say that.
Well, job security. Yeah, no, in fact, my favorite, you did a sermon once from Matthew 27 on the miracles that occurred during the crucifixion. And you had doubly alliterated every point. There were like 6 or 7 points. I forget how many miracles there were, but I do remember your outline because it had to do with the tearing of the curtain in the tabernacle, and you called that sanctuary desecration, and then there was the supernatural darkness, and when you got to the earthquake, you called it soil disturbance.
Well,
yeah.
That was the best I could do with an SD for an earthquake. But
no, you could have said.
You know, I have to say the Lord has forgiven me for that.
No, he hasn't, because whoever edited that part of your commentary left it in there. If you look at the Matthew commentary on that passage, it's right there, soil disturbance.
I'm the only one who edits the commentaries.
Okay.
But, you know, that's you could only think of that one illustration because that's a very, you know, I used to try to. I know you could. But I used to do that, but it only takes me it just comes quick. And eventually I thought, you know, this, I don't want people getting caught up in it. It helps in a commentary.
Right.
Because you're breaking sections out, but...
If you guys use that, make it seismic disturbance or something. Anyway.
Yeah, well, why didn't I think of that, see? I wrote a book on heaven. You can go to the bookstore afterwards and get a copy of that book. It has a whole section on that, okay? Would you do that, Erica, for her?
And, how are we gonna know each other?
How are we going to know each other? Should you just read the book? Right.
Well, you could probably gain a lot by reading the book, or I can just give you the answer and you can forget the book. That's either one. Because you will have perfected knowledge. Okay?
And I think you rock.
She thinks you rock.
Thank you. I think you roll. Together, we're a perfect combination. From a human standpoint, serendipitous was the fact that we met.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, in fact, I almost didn't
the fact
come
that
to
you
hear
put me in a motel in the dead winter of Chicago, a motel with no heat, and I had to take the carpet off the floor to put on the bed to stay warm all night.
Yeah. And then I booked you into a lousy accommodation in India once, too.
Thank you very much on my anniversary.
That's right.
With my wife.
It was your 30th anniversary, no less, wasn't it? Yeah. And you talk about how serendipitous it was. I almost didn't come to hear you the first time you were.
No, I know that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was speaking at Moody. He was on the Moody Press. And he made a crack to somebody. I'm not going to go hear some lame brain talk about the will of God. Everybody that comes to Moody talks about the will of God. And then he had his eye on this. Never heard of me. Then he had his eye on this girl named Darlene. And she comes up to him and says, "Oh, Philip, would you like to come to chapel and hear John MacArthur?" Oh, yes. Right?
That is exactly what happened.
Carl, have you got that one figured out over there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And this young man right here.
All right, give us your name and step right up to the microphone.
And my question has.
What's your name?
Sorry.
Sorry, that's
Joshua
a strange
Smith.
name.
And ultimately your love for Jesus and his people that motivates you to continue to serve. So we're grateful for your persevering example to all of us.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I need to just make a footnote before you feel like you're signing me off here.
But there have always been these bizarre interpretations of Scripture. I have to confess it's still common, and I am somewhat frightened by it. The other day on the charismatic television, there was a person being interviewed, and they said, he said he was born in 1929. And he said God had him to be born in 1929 because his life verse is Matthew 19:29. Oh, they went into euphoria over that. Oh, how wonderful. And what is Matthew 19:29? With men it is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Oh, what a life verse. That's your life verse because you were born in 1929. And then the host said, "Oh, I was born in 1934. What's Matthew 19:34? That'll be my life verse." And so his wife looked up Matthew 19:34, and of course Matthew 19 doesn't have 34 verses. And so Mark doesn't have 19 chapters, so you're left with Luke. And he said, "Look up Luke 19:34, look up Luke 19:34, that'll be it." And she looked it up, and with great excitement she said, "And Jesus said, I have need of him, I have need of him." And he said, "That's it. He has need of me, he has need of me." And she kept looking, and she looked up and said, No, it's talking about a jackass." And I said, right. It is frightening what people have done and do to the Word of God. However, that may have been his verse. I don't want to argue the point.
Before we move too far away from the question about women, here's another question. This is the last one, I promise, but I'm just giving you the ones that came in.
No, I know. You're not responsible for any of this, Phil.
Now, what if your pastor affirms all of those things, at least gives lip service to it, but she's a woman who believes...
Well, that isn't even there's no discussion there, because the Bible couldn't be more clear on that. I permit not a woman to teach or take authority over a man. That's end of case. Look, there are 66 books, but you know this, don't you, Phil?
I do. I do. You want me to bail you out here?
No.
All right, we're out of time. I have to make one announcement, then I'm going to ask you to close in prayer and pray for our lunch.
No, I'm going to ask you. You close in prayer.
Okay, we'll do. One announcement.
Because you have the most to pray about.
Suddenly, I'm worried about job security.
Give the men a final... Am I allowed to wrap up now or no?
Yeah.
Okay. We have... I really do think I did a good job on that Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know exactly what that meant. I know you do too, John.
No, you just rescued me from my eternal reward.